Pledge, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't mind sitting, I just thought I knew it was chair, vice chair, and
I would just sit
one
down.
yeah.
I don't care. As long as I get to sit down.
Well, there's also 1, 2, 3. I'll just soon be over here. All right, number 3, and we're going to have any citizen desiring to be heard. Do we have any citizen who would like to be heard? Yes, sir.
My name's Brett Weldon. This is Jerry Casey. We're here at the request of Kay Wade over at the Economic Development. Jerry and I have taken on putting on the rodeo this year, and we just wanted to kind of let you guys know kind of our plans. We signed a 1-year lease with them, and Jerry and I got involved with it. If you guys don't know me, I'm a rodeo announcer, and I'm in law enforcement too. And I've announced this rodeo for the last 4 years, I think. And to be honest with you, I got tired of going places. I'd be in Michigan and people would say, hey, what's the deal with the Guthrie rodeo? Basically saying it's horrible. What can you do to make it better? So we kind of got together. Jerry's a rodeo clown. He just retired 30 years in the United States Army. We said, hey, let's do this. So we went and talked to Kay, and we kind of put a long-range plan together. We told her we're not interested in starting a roundup club right now. We want to get some momentum going and get a few good things happening. Short notice on us, so we said, hey, let's not do a 2-day rodeo, let's do a 1-day bull riding for 80 miners. They had stuff planned already for Friday night, so we decided just to do a 1-day bull riding on that Saturday. Looking down the long-range planning, we're planning on having a 2-day rodeo in the fall, probably sometime in September. Also, there are several other church groups and civic organizations, FFA, 4-H, that we've spoken with about utilizing that arena. So we have a lot of things kind of in the works, and we wanted you guys to be aware, any of the citizens, if anybody's interested in using that thing, please contact us. We told them we would like to do stuff other than the traditional rodeo. We want that thing to stay afloat. Guthrie obviously has a lot of history, and we want the arena to stay an arena, but we're not opposed to using it for other things, car shows, whatever we can do out there. Someone even mentioned dirt soccer, so if any of you guys are dirt soccer players or can think of any other use, please see us, and we'll stick around until the meeting's over, and you guys can talk to us. Does anybody have any questions about any of you commissioners?
I don't. Thank you very much.
I don't either, but I do want to say that we appreciate Brett and Jerry, your service.
Thank you.
From that.
I think Tish had something.
Oh, Tish? Yes,
I do. I would like to speak to item number 11 on the agenda of the discussion of possible action of the reappointment of the Logan County Excise Board.
Do we, we'll be getting to item 11, and that may be the proper time to address that.
Before you make your nominations, though, I would like to address it, okay?
Yeah, I think go ahead and speak, Tish.
Well, if you would.
It's on the agenda.
It is on the agenda.
Okay. I take my job very serious as the Logan County Assessor, and I believe very strongly in tax assessment fairness for all. Because of that belief, I lowered the assessment ratio from 12% to 11% because it was the right thing to do. It was unfair for the people living in southern Logan County on the north side of Waterloo to pay a higher tax for the same services of the people living on the south side of Waterloo Road. It was unfair to all the property owners in Logan County to be forced to pay a higher tax than the surrounding counties. There has been a great amount of opposition for that decision. Despite that opposition, it was the right thing to do for the people of Logan County. And it is my belief that at least one member of the Excise Board should reflect this sentiment. It has come to my attention that the current incumbent Excise Board publicly expressed opposition to the lowering of the tax rate. Now I'm going to ask each member of the commissioners, Mike Pearson, Monty Piercy, and Marvin Goodman, to appoint a new excise board member who will support tax fairness and who will stand with the people. Because I believe we should start with a fair and balanced board, one that represents all the people of Logan County.
I don't know if we ought to debate anything or not, but I mean, I would have a comment. I don't think it'd be appropriate. I mean,
I'm open to hearing it.
Really not until item 11, I believe.
what do you think, Marvin? Any citizen desiring to be heard? I mean,
Well,
you
right.
ought to comment on something like that?
Well, one of the things that I brought up and put on this agenda is item 12, right? And that discusses exactly what we're talking about, the processes, policies, and procedures for citizens wishing to be heard, you know, and what we should and shouldn't do. Right now, I don't think we have anything in writing that describes that process. So right now, it's kind of at will, you know, so it's whoever's in charge makes up the rules, so.
Well, I'm not in charge.
Well,
No, this is
But I guess
for-
my question would be, would we really kick someone off the board for having an opinion?
Well, believe it or not, we're on an item that says citizens to be heard.
I'm a citizen.
Well, I understand that, but we are going to be addressing that issue, I believe, on these items. But, you know, if we were to jump to that all of a sudden, I mean, that is within the purview. However, we still have more comments from our citizens before we want to do that.
Yeah.
So, Rick Moore, you are recognized, sir.
Yeah, I guess what I would be asking is if you pass this portion of citizen comments and you get down to number 11, are citizens going to be able to participate in the discussion of number 11 at that point?
When recognized.
Right
We
now.
got a legal counsel here, though. You got any?
It would be entirely up to you to set those rules of when you accept comment. You know, I've seen some boards say, make your comments at this point in the agenda, and we will discuss it among ourselves when we get to the item. I've seen other boards that will say, if the item is on the agenda, hold your comments till we get to that item, and then we'll hear you. So it's however you want to do it.
But right now, we don't have a published policy for that, so we probably should do that. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, if you want to, yeah, you know, you could have an unwritten policy or a written one. You're in charge of your meeting.
And again, that's an agenda item.
I think that's why we put any citizen desiring to be heard, so if they want to
That's
talk about
correct.
an agenda item, they can do it before we get to it.
Well, we can
But
do.
when we get to the agenda item, I'd say it's county business.
Well, then, all right, we'll go along with that little
That
rule.
gentleman back here.
Dax?
Hello, I'm Dax Eubank. I'd just like to take this time then to encourage you to consider the fact that because of the issue that's been brought up, some citizens have shown up because we're concerned that that lowering taxes is unpopular amongst our government. And it's not. It's very popular amongst the citizens. And, you know, if we can't have a government that can lower taxes and do more with less, everybody else in the economy is being asked to do more with less, and we expect you guys to do it too, especially right now. And if we're going to have an excise board that is suspect in that regard, particularly with recent votes we've had in Logan County with regard to raising taxes, the will of the people was made known, and Southern Logan County has a definite voice about that. And if the county commissioners don't want to take that into effect, then the will of Southern Logan County may come into effect on your job too. And I just want to make that known, and we're all asked to do more with less, and I hope that you guys would look at that, because our property taxes, it's our property, it's not your property. And you take our property taxes, and the fact that we have an official that has lowered taxes is a big deal. It's something that we should be proud of in Logan County. And if it makes your guys' job a little harder, well, that's why it's public service. It's hard work, and we appreciate it.
It didn't affect my job one bit, and I like paying more taxes myself.
Me too.
As far as lowering the tax and lowering the amount of revenue, it's been very slight because of the petroleum that we've put on has really balanced that out. So their money has not been lowered a lot. The schools have received millions that they hadn't received before because of the new petroleum that's been put on. So I looked at both sides before I lowered that. I didn't want to hurt the schools, I wanted to help the people, and I wanted to do what was right. And I saw no reason why Logan County was paying a higher tax than the surrounding counties. And I was able to do both.
Something I might to point out is, the property taxes, 0% of that goes to roads. So, you know, the property taxes don't affect our job, I mean, just the general government.
Sure, well, I'm more speaking to why we're gathered, why some people have chosen to show up at this meeting today, and just hopefully you guys will keep that in mind when we're making your appointments.
Appreciate it. Right.
You know, I've sat here many times just trying to figure out how county government works. So the excise board appointments are open, says here they run coterminous. When are applications available to the general public? Because I expressed interest in that, and I was never really figured out how to do it. I know other people are interested in these positions as well. So what exactly is the process of, you know, getting applications submitted? If one of us citizens wanted to be on this board, what is the process to move that
You
forward?
reside in District 1. The judge appoints that position.
Which judge?
It'd be the associate, well, not the associate judge, but the district judge.
District judge of state
The way that works, Rick, is, there's 3 excise board members. The Oklahoma Tax Commission and the state senate appoints 1, which that would be Maryland Branch's seat. Mr. Davis's seat is appointed by the judge, and the commissioners have 1 appointee, and for some reason, it has to come out of District 3. I don't know why they set it up that way.
Well, yeah, each
district
district has to be
has a
represented on the
representative.
excise board.
Mhm.
And that's just the way it's been, I guess, since statehood.
And
I
Dan
really do not
Ladd,
know.
Dan Ladd had expressed to you all that he would like to be on that board.
And his application has been submitted.
So he's up for consideration in this?
Well,
These
really,
appointments?
we probably ought to discuss that when we get to 11, but the process of the citizens getting the application we was talking about, is normally when we have a position come open, we'll put an ad in the paper for 2 weeks, we take applications, we bring the applications in, the commissioners make their decision, and that's,
Which papers do you put it in?
normally the local paper and Crescent paper.
And that's represented in all 3 of the districts? There's announcements made in all 3 districts?
Now, I don't know if we actually, Troy could probably address this better.
The way it was explained to me, and Lowell chime in please, years ago when I asked, the
Mhm.
4 years was up, and I contacted the auditor's office about what happened. And I was told by the auditor's office that a formal reappointment was not required, that as long as they wanted to continue serving, that was great. The members could sign new loyalty oaths and it was good to go. That's the way it was explained to me. I've been told that the 2 positions that are not appointed by this board, particularly the judge and the OTC/Senate seats, that's their normal course.
But
That they
those are-
don't open it up and reappoint formally every 4 years.
But they are confirmed by the county commissioners, or they just show up here at the excise meeting?
They have no, it is all on those 2. The judge makes the formal appointment and OTC makes their appointment. The Board of Commissioners has no activity with those 2 appointments whatsoever.
So they appoint which person?
District 3 rep, the representative for the Logan County District 3 is appointed by the Board of County Commissioners.
So how many applications were submitted for that?
At this point, none that I know of, simply because, again, in the past, it had been just no successor had been appointed, so they stayed on the board. If this board wants to open up, and my understanding from Lowell is, based on their 4-year, they can open up, I think that's really what the agenda item, if I read it correctly, was about, was opening that position to applications.
Because that is the actual law, right, that they run coterminous with positions?
And they're reappointed, or the law also says, and this is for any board member, for your board that you sit on or any, until a formal appointment is made or a successor is in place, that board member remains in that position.
Point of order there. I don't believe that that was ever intended to mean that those board members are appointed in perpetuity, and that no
We can
reappointment,
ask
and that no reappointment, that's why I'm framing it, okay? And that no reappointment is necessary. I believe the necessity for reappointment has to do with the board, not, I think the law says that they should be reappointed. I know that Oklahoma State, the people that teach this course, say that there's a lot of counties that don't understand this requirement and don't reappoint because they don't understand this requirement.
And I'm not gonna disagree with that. All I can tell you is what I was told when I inquired about it.
And that's why I believe that, you know, we need to get those people that speak from a source, right, from whatever, whether it's an auditor or the assistant district attorney, thank you for coming today, sir, that they come in person so we can have an iterative discussion and ask questions back and forth and frame things in context. I think that's important. And that way we don't have misunderstandings.
So all the publications were done this time around, you published in the newspaper here
No,
and
Rick,
pressing?
as of right now,
Mhm.
this position for District 3 has not been opened.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's what the actual agenda item today is, not to make an appointment. It is to go out to get applications to open it up for an appointment. Commissioner Goodman wrote the item. Am I misunderstanding that, Commissioner?
I wrote the item exactly as I described.
Okay, but I mean, it's to open it to accept the applications. They haven't already been accepted.
So that position will be open for applications after?
If they choose to do that. What the agenda item reads is in the last line, it is also recommended that discussion and consideration for reappointment take place at the next BOCC meeting on February the 27th. This agenda item was not to make the appointment today. It was for the board to take action to open it up to accepting applications to make an appointment.
It says possible action on reappointment. And Dan Ladd did apply for this. He submitted his application.
Well, really, he can't apply for it until we open it up. I mean, we're
Okay,
not even
okay,
doing
but
applications yet.
he is out of state, and he was at one of the meetings where he told the board that he would like to do this.
Right.
And I have one more question following up on that. I mean, so even though this says that the terms are coterminous with positions 1 and 3 on the county commissioners, you can choose not to take new applications at that point? Is that what you're saying?
I would assume that we could reappoint if we elected to. is what I
Without
would
taking
assume.
any outside applications?
Yes, sir. I think we can.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
But I don't think that's a proper thing to do. I do think that we ought to be able to vet whichever individuals wish to be our representative on that excise board. So should we open it up, I believe that it would be proper order if we had that 2-week window open wherein we could accept applications.
Chairman, if I may interrupt for a second and make a suggestion.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
seems to me that we are literally addressing item number 11 at this point.
And that was my
So
point.
I think that the board could ask to move the item up and go ahead and hear it officially, or we need to leave it in place.
Because, yes, I agree.
Low, I mean, just to follow up on Rick's question there, if we decided to, we could just reappoint without doing the application program.
You could, yeah. I think
So
this-
we could, I'm not saying that we will, but I think we can, to answer the question.
And
do
I was
think-
told that you were not going to nominate anyone else, that it was gonna stand by one of the commissioners.
I believe that
Well,
what we discussed was it's an item agenda, and we shall see what our legal requirements are on that.
So, Lowell, just to be clear, we could reappoint with no problems, or we can go out for an application as well.
It's your choice.
Our choice.
Yeah, yeah, there's.
So
no
just to make
method.
it clear, but.
Well, I agree with that, but the thing that I was not agreeing with was not reappointing or appointing at all, and just letting it run.
And I believe that's a good idea.
I don't have a problem with it.
Hey, Lonnie, when you say it's your choice to do that, is it your choice with excluding the will of the people and letting us have our input?
Well, I think we was put up here to make them decisions, but,
That's right.
but I'm not saying that we will do that, I'm just saying that we can do that.
We are the representatives of the people. That's why we were elected, in order to be able to make those.
Sometimes people get elected that don't listen to the people, and that's kind of an issue.
Which people?
people that are interested in our property taxes being
What
lower and our
about the
voice.
people who elected us?
Well, people get elected all the time, Mike, and then they don't kind of
And we
follow them.
represent them to the best of our ability.
When
That's why
are
we're
the
here.
I
county
think it
commissioners
might be
terms up?
important for one thing, and
Every- Mike
Tisha
said
lowering the
18 months,
taxes,
I'm up in 4 years.
the excise board has nothing to do with that. That's an assessor's decision, and she made that decision. The excise board has absolutely nothing to do with what she did with the assessment values. So it's not like this three-person board can come in and say, well, we didn't like that she lowered and we're gonna raise it. That is not their authority to do so.
And that's not what I'm suggesting. What
And
I'm
I'm not saying you
suggesting
are, I
is
just
that
wanted
we
to
have
clarify
fair
that.
representation for the entire county on all the meetings brought in front of this board. And I can speak to the fact that I don't think that happened in the past.
We can pick this up on item 11 if we just.
I believe we.
Do we have any more citizens that already heard though? I mean, let's be.
Anything else? All right.
Great.
Hey, well,
Well,
Steve,
I think, under the circumstances, you should advance item 11 and deal with it now, would be my opinion. Be my
Is that the wish of the commissioners?
I don't have a problem with it.
Very
It's
good.
up to me.
And I would like to keep item 3 open so that we can address it maybe at the end.
Actually, it is on the end as the board requested.
Oh, it is.
Thank you.
Missed that. Apologize.
So we're gonna
Very
move to
good.
11.
So we wish to bring item number 11 to the fore, which the agenda item states, discussion and possible action on reappointment of Logan County Excise Equalization Board, following state statute 682861 B3C. All board members' terms are coterminous with Commissioner 1 and 3, which requires appointment, reappointment in fiscal year 2015. It is therefore recommended that the Excise Equalization Board seat appointed by the Logan County Board of County Commissioners be considered open for all qualified applications to be considered for appointment of a 4-year term through the end of fiscal year 2018. It is also recommended that discussion and consideration for reappointment take place at the next scheduled Board of County Commissioner meeting on February 27, 2015.
Chairman, if I may, I have a question on the item. And this is just something I wasn't even, the commissioner terms are calendar year, not fiscal year. January to December. This identifies and I may be wrong and never realized they were fiscal year. It would make sense for them to be. But if their appointments are actually fiscal year 15 does not end until June 30th.
That's correct.
That's calendar year. That's a misprint. That's calendar year. That's supposed to be calendar year 2015. Starting 1 January
Okay.
2015
Okay.
is when that reappointment is open. Actually, the way I understand it, and like I said, I'm new at this. I only know what I read. So the way I understand it is after the commissioners, 1 and 3, take their oaths, then immediately after that, the excise board can be reappointed. It has to be done by the new board.
I didn't even think about it till he was just reading it. It jumped up in my head the way.
That was a misprint. That's calendar year 2015, through calendar
So
year.
y'all wanna go out for applications?
Well, in my humble opinion, the people change on a regular schedule, certainly every 4 years. And in my opinion, that this should be reflected in the way that the Board of Commissioners appoints or reappoints whichever member of the board. So I believe that this is a good idea. I believe that this is something that we do need to do. But, we did do this last year, and there were applications. There was an application process. It was followed. But I do believe it was only to complete the term that was there, so that on January 1st, that needed to be vetted as well.
So
So,
you making a motion?
Yes, second.
Any,
So we're,
I was
so
gonna, can
if
someone
I'm,
give me what the motion?
if I may clarify the motion, if I may clarify the
Please.
motion, with the correction of calendar year 2015 instead of fiscal year 2015, I understand the motion is as written in this proposal.
To go out for applications.
to go out for applications.
Go out for applications and take
that would
up,
be-
and then take up
It's
discussion.
only a fair way to do it.
And
I think
reappointment at
that's
the
a
next
fair way
Board
to
of
go.
County Commissioners meeting.
Well, we can't just, I think we ought to run the
That's
ad for 2 to 3 weeks anyway, give people time.
That's right at 2 weeks, Ross.
2 weeks, fine.
Well,
Now, we could
there
consider
is
it on
2
the
weeks.
Let me-
second as well.
If I may, the paper doesn't publish every day, so when you're looking at that 2 weeks, you're not gonna get publications, today being the 13th, we won't be able to get it in today. It would be able to publish on, and for the Guthrie paper, publishes Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays only.
I just wanted to pick a date. I don't really care, as long as it's somewhere in this calendar year.
That's fine, I'm just
Actually,
saying,
as long as it's before May, because that's when we get into our budget discussions pretty.
sure, absolutely. I just, for the 2 weeks is where I was
Yeah.
falling for
The
the
agenda
27th.
for the second, normally,
March 2nd.
that March 2nd would be a less cluttered, if you would, agenda.
It would
Would
be the
that
first
be-
meeting after being able to have 2 full weeks of publication, if that's what you're
So,
trying to do.
I'd like to amend my motion to reflect that we consider those applications with possibility of appointment of the, our one and only excise board member for March the 2nd.
I'll second his motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Motion carries. So,
I do have an announcement on agenda item 5 if we're going back there.
well, we were going to 4 first.
Okay, let's do 4. Sorry about that. Jumped again.
Well, you're fine. Consideration and possible action on approving minutes of January 5th, 2015.
I move that we approve.
Second.
All
Is that-
those in favor?
Is that January or February?
January. Well, sorry, Troy.
You
I
caught me
didn't
on the
catch that.
date, it's my turn.
February 2nd.
Yeah, I did that. I did that. We'll table them until,
I thought we already did January's.
we did, and I didn't, and none of the 3 you caught it either.
No, ma'am, I've been just hammered.
We
for
can
time.
table them until the 27th.
Thank you.
Okay.
On number 5, Mr. Anderson told me he did have a deal come up today. He did say that he would like to call an EMS special board meeting for the 18th, I think, as
Yes,
soon as he said he
18th.
could do it.
I got that.
And I would like to have a commissioner meeting so we can attend that, meet all 3 of us, and maybe we can get all this hammered out.
That would be good.
If you don't have a problem.
But one of the issues on, let's see here. One of the issues on this needs to be heard, I believe, and I believe that our council can instruct us as to that regard. So on number 5 is discussion with Barry Anderson and Jim Overton, who are not here, regarding audit findings of the MS1 district and discussion pertaining to possible. So the second portion pertaining to possible conflict of interest regarding members of the Logan County MS1 Board of Trustees. And I would, at this time, appreciate the Commissioner's consideration that we have input for that from our legal counsel, Assistant DA Lowell Marco. Lowell?
Just a point of order first.
Yes, sir.
If you don't mind, Chairman. How can we go forward with item 5 when it says discussion with Barry Anderson and Jim Overton when they're not here? I'm just curious how that works.
Because he is the counsel. But if
Is
we
counsel
wish
for Jim
to,
and-
if we wish to come back to that, we can come back to that for citizens to be heard or discussions.
I mean, you can, you're the chairman of the board, I mean, you
Right.
can make those
You
decisions,
want
right?
to,
I'm just
then-
curious as to, after deciding that this wasn't something that was appropriate to be heard, what changed your mind?
Because we do have somebody who can address that particular issue.
No, I'm talking about the EMS board, the audit findings and those sorts of things.
We can't address the audit findings at this time.
Well, no.
That was what they were going to do.
That's not what I mean, I understand we can't, they're not here, so we can't address it at that time. That
Correct.
makes sense to me, right?
But
I
we
get
can't
that part.
address the conflict of interest
With
because that's a
them?
legal item.
How can we address it with them when they're not here? That's what I'm
You know, I
asking.
apologize that I did not also include Logan Bartow on that, because at that
So
particular
it's not
time,
on
I
the-
was not certain if he could be here or not. But he is here.
Well, let's just hold his thoughts until.
We'll hold his
citizens are
thoughts
here.
until citizens wishing to be heard.
Here's his others.
So what
So
I'm,
we will
what I was curious
continue
about,
this.
again, was this showed up on the, agenda today to
Yes, sir.
discuss audit findings
Yes, sir.
with Barry and Jim,
Yes, sir.
when previously you have stated that we've got no authority to do that. I'm just wondering what changed your mind.
Well, I'll tell you one thing.
I was asking the chairman, sir.
Well,
Primarily because of your vocation on this, that you were quite strident about that as to the consideration for their reappointments. And I wanted this to be addressed specifically for the purpose of educating the public who have a bad idea as to what transpired. So I do believe that this needs to be discussed because that was brought up by you, sir, and I do believe that does need to be discussed.
And I agree.
And so therefore,
Yes, sir.
I wish to have that discussion, and I put it on the agenda to have that discussion. We do not have the ability to have anything done with that, but because of the media that occurred on that, because of your injections, regardless of whether you had done your proper research or not, which I had, then I think that that needs to be going out to the public because I believe they have the wrong idea about what the EMS board was into and why those audit findings occurred. So I wanted for a discussion.
And I appreciate that, and I support the discussion. I agree that it should be on here.
But we do
But
not have
I-
the authority to do anything about it.
And I would ask then, if it's important that the public understand, then why was it not important to let the public understand before these board members were reappointed?
Because it was not an agenda item.
Okay. We tried to get on the agenda 3 times, but it's not an agenda item. But it
I'm
is now.
sorry, sir, but you have the
I'm
authority
finished with my comments. Thank you, sir.
to be able to put that on the agenda. And I was really honestly, kind of surprised that it was not on the agenda, because that was your issue. So, sir, yes, I proceeded with the agenda as it was stated in there. I did due diligence and I checked into all of this that you were upset about, that were the objections that you brought up. And seeing as how that was on media, I thought that it would be best for everyone if we had this discussion, which they were in agreement with, which I only was informed of their change of mind last evening. So I am disappointed that they were not here, but I do believe that we should have a special commissioner meeting to be in conjunction with the EMS board so that they can have this discussion, and possibly that should also be put on the media, and then we won't have to have that discussion here before our board. So let's see what transpires here. I'm all for open government, and I do want this to be in front of the public so they can understand the process. Because there's some new issues that are going to be coming up about the EMS for the entire county, and this needs to be discussed. So, proceeding on. Consideration and
Chairman, I'm gonna stop you because,
Yes,
to be
ma'am.
very honest, I am lost as to what I'm doing with this item.
we are having no action.
Okay.
I apologize. Number 6, consideration possible action on accepting resignation of Lane McPhail from the Crescent EMSI to Board of Trustees.
You wanna read that?
Sure.
I just got it yesterday, or I got it to you earlier.
25 years seems like a long time.
I make the motion we accept it.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 25 years. Motion carries. Number 7, consideration possible action on appointing 3 members to the Crescent MSI 2 Board of Trustees.
We ran these applications mainly in the Crescent paper. I mean, it has, these appointments have to come out of the Crescent
That's
School
easy.
District. Yeah, I sent you a copy. I sent Mike a copy, and so we just,
Yeah.
originally, we needed 2. We had 2 resign. Ed Stanton resigned, and Ryan Wallace, now Lane McPhail. So we received 4 applications. So if you want to fill all 3 seats out of the 4, or if you want to go back out for applications for the one that just resigned today. I would recommend we do all 3. I think anyone interested has already filled out an
This
application.
is a 3-person board,
It's a 5-person.
5-person. So they still have 2 people there?
Yeah. They don't have quorum now that Lane has
Right.
resigned. So really, we need to move forward on this.
Any recommendations of the 4, 3 or 4? Bill?
You know, I know them all. They're all
That's what I
good.
mean, but-
They're all good people.
I know you and 2 from business.
So I'm open for discussion or appointment or nominations.
The agenda item does say 3 members,
Yeah, I had that place.
but you didn't know about the 4th.
I'll make a nomination for 1, Lisa Lacy.
So let's see.
She's an RN, in Crescent for a long time. Her dad served on the board as a EMT and a board member.
Okay.
Retired RN, I think that's capital. I would second that one. Are we doing these one each individually?
Well, I selected one. I figured you 2 select one. I mean, I don't want to be the only.
You know, I understand
Go ahead,
that
then.
you're the area affected. I don't believe, does that come down into District 1 at all?
It's not a
I don't think so, but I don't know.
volunteer. You know this Jason Smith?
I do know.
He been on the board before?
I don't think he's, not to my knowledge, Marvin, no board authority. But I don't know that either.
Oh, does he work at truck?
Yeah, he works for Boston Town Service.
And he currently works with as a volunteer fire department.
Yeah,
So
he is a volunteer fireman in Crescent.
is he also an EMS? It appears that he's EMS first responder and EMT basic 2000 to present. And safety officer for Boston.
Like I say, they're all good applicants. I think they all have served on the board. Linda Best, she's, I'm not sure that she's not a PA. Don't know that.
Here's 3 that I got.
And we also have a registered nurse with the American Red Cross. Certainly like the Jason Best.
Well, the applicants is Donna Maines, Lisa Lacy, Linda Best, and Jason Smith.
That's
I picked one, I'll let you guys
Would
pick
you
one.
want to pick one? I mean, make a motion for one of them as well? and then we could-
Any one of those 3 is fine. You can pick for me. I mean, like I said,
We need 3.
yeah. And those 3 that we've pointed out is Who,
The three-
Best,
The three that I came up with was Jason Smith, Linda Best, and Lisa Lacy.
I'll make the motion
For those.
for those three.
Second. I don't have a problem with it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
The only other thing I think we need to maybe work on these things is, the term dates. I think they have another member that's term date is actually up. I think we need to, one, either reappoint or go out for applications again. And I don't know
Does
that,
Kingfisher set one of those seats?
Kingfisher County, we have to or ask someone out of Kingfisher County to serve on the board as well. That board member is Gary Duncan.
Would that not be for Kingfisher County to
Well,
appoint?
I can tell you, we've always done it in the past, don't mean it's right, but I think you're right, I think Kingfisher County probably should make that appointment.
I think that as well,
May I clarify the motion, which
Yes,
is to
ma'am.
appoint
those three.
Linda Best, Jason Smith, and Lisa Lacy, and these will be to fill the unexpired parts of the terms of the three that have resigned, is that?
Rocky is
Cynthia's
good.
sitting there.
Thank you,
Troy, is Cynthia sitting there?
yes.
Will you ask her to bring that term date sheet in, please?
The
Let's go ahead and get this nailed down on term dates. So I guess we'll put, do y'all care what order? Lisa Lacy will take Ryan Wallace's seat. Jason Smith will take Ed Stanton's seat, and Linda Best will take Lane McPhail's seat. But going off this paper that EMS provided to me, board member Craig Lotz, his term is up. We need to either go out for applications or reappoint Craig Lotz at some day. But his term is up.
Those terms expire.
I don't know this sheet to be accurate, so I really hate to say. I'd rather do a little more research on it before I actually say what the term dates are. Thanks.
As well as we need to communicate with Kingfisher Board of Commissioners. and-
Well, how would that work on that appointment?
Does the district lie in both counties?
Yeah,
The school district
The
does.
school district
School
goes over into
district.
Kingfisher County, so we've always had a representative from Kingfisher County on the board.
Mhm.
Which should be appointed by that Board of County Commissioners.
Okay, right.
That is correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we have been doing it wrong, so we need to contact Kingfisher County and I'll do that very thing. That's all I got.
Anything else? Move.
We did get a vote
We
on that.
did.
Yes. Aye.
We did. Item number 8, consideration possible action on approving application for Department of the Army permit for work pertaining to Luther Road construction, including replacement of bridges, circle number 236, 237, and 238, located in sections 3, 4, 33, and 34, 50 North 1 East. Jeffrey, you are up.
You have the infamous 404 permit to sign for.
Yes.
Now, once we get that, should take about 12 to 14 months to get that approved. Maybe sooner if we're lucky.
Then we can start moving utilities.
Well, no, that.
Oh, well, accessing,
That is just getting the permit in place for that when we have construction, they can tear those bridges and do the work in the channel. That has nothing to do with utilities or anything along that line. It only deals with what happens once construction starts. But we gotta have this in place prior to letting the project.
and the permit 404 takes about 10 to
12 to 14 months.
12 to 14 months.
I'm gonna move this thing.
So it should be, but we're almost, the environmental will be cleared within about 3 months.
Yes, sir.
Record time. No, 'cause we did it, so it is record time.
I agree.
And so then utilities get moved. So it'll take us 12 months to probably move all the utilities along that 5-mile corridor.
Then we also have to have right of way.
And then we get right-of-way process. But the right-of-way happens first before utilities.
Right. Got it.
But you should be going out now to acquire the right-of-way company, so you can start getting that process in play.
Okay.
Once the day the environmental hits, you all sign that, they need to be hitting the ground running and get the right-of-way.
Okay.
Because that could take, it could be as easy as pie, or it could be as difficult as you all want to make it.
Got it.
Because you have roughly about 90 parcels to buy.
And my remembrance, like on the
Been working on
Coltrane
one for about 3 years
project, the Skelton Creek project,
I told you guys on me. I told you guys on me.
we can summarily hire them. We don't have to go out for a bid.
No, because they're off the ODOT pre-approved list of right-of-way. So they've already been pre-approved and interviewed, so then it's just selecting a right-of-way firm from that list
Especially for me.
and getting ODOT to get the contract together. That is your next
Hurdle.
is once you select them, how long it takes ODOT to get that contract in place.
Yep.
All right.
I would like to make that motion.
Let me see one.
Oh, sure.
Two of them.
Yeah, go for it.
These all the same thing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Standard form.
No, I mean, yeah, I wrote copies.
They're
Copies.
everyone's the same. We have to have that many copies for the court. Paperless society now, you know how that works.
Hey Jeffrey, it's kind of off the subject, but if you're around after the meeting, if you got time, I'd like to show you that piling deal I was telling you.
Yeah, that's why I stuck around.
I appreciate it.
I'll just tell you to take it out and try again.
Easy, man. I don't have a problem with that. It's just our federal government works.
Are you saying second? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Just one chance to look at it.
Hey, there's multiple pages to sign.
Oh. Shucks.
Federal document, remember that.
We'll try sign.
Make sure you initial the page that you initial, so that they know that that's your initial.
Yeah, okay.
Do what?
I'll go ahead and sign these after the meeting.
I'm just impressed you actually flagged them.
I'll do that.
You're getting it.
There's that resolution.
It's a steep learning curve, I know.
Wellness thing, active.
We are in public, I'll be nice.
All right, item 9, consideration and possible action on approving CBRI commitment in the amount of $60,000 for replacement of bridge circle number 90 on County Road 76 between Luther Road and Pegley Road for District Number 2.
I so moved.
And, I'm sorry?
I so moved. Do we adopt? Yes.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, it's not, I just handed it down.
No, this.
CBRI.
Giving him
Okay,
the
yeah.
CBRI money for
Right, I so
$60,000. He's
moved.
made a motion to approve it.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And hopefully we don't have to use that whole 60,000. We'll see what happens. Item number 10, consideration possible action on approving agreement with Oklahoma Department of Emergency Management for the sub-grant of the Emergency Management Performance Grant Program funds.
This has basically been the SLA or the EMPG grant that we've done the last few years since I've been here. It's a state program, it's federal funds. The one big change on that this year, the state apparently has more money, and so if I meet all the requirements, it'll be $20,000 instead of $10,000. So I just like your permission to be able to do the grant and get the money. We've never had any issues in years past. meeting all the requirements.
Pretty successful with them.
Yeah, we've always been able to do all the requirements and do that, so.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I would like to at least have the time to review this before we take action on it.
Is there a time
You guys
bullet
are
on
supposed
this?
to have it back to the state by the 27th of February.
February.
And I didn't get it from the state. I know the dates on there differently, but I didn't get it from Tracy Bender was here, my area coordinator was here, like, it was either the 28th or 29th of January.
Is
when
this
she
in
was here.
variance with the previous grant applications? Is this the?
There's a few little minor things have changed, from the previous grant. One of them is the money is more, and, the state says they're going to have required, SLA meetings that I'm supposed to attend.
We got a special meeting on the 23rd.
That's where I was just
Okay.
gonna say.
Okay, would that be
Like
a
to propose
sufficient
we-
time to
Yeah,
do
yeah, the
this on
23rd,
the
is fine.
23rd?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, then we'll take no action and put it on the agenda for.
And if you guys have questions, holler, and if I don't know the answer, I can get somebody from the state, maybe on the 23rd if you like, to visit with them.
That's pretty nice. I mean, it'd be nice. I'm
I mean,
not
I
saying
can
it's
ask.
required.
Okay, if you want, I'll ask and see if Steve Paladino or somebody can come and
That'd be
do
great.
questions.
You do a
So it'll be
great
the
job.
23rd of February, is that right?
Yes,
Excellent. Thank you.
9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. That'd be great. Okay. Here you are.
We'll get you a copy.
Very good. Proceeding on to item 12, which is somewhat lengthy. Number 12, discussion and possible action on defining and publishing rules and procedures for those citizens wishing to address the Board of County Commissioners. Recommend consideration on adopting the following. Addressing the board. Citizens may address the Logan County Board of County Commissioners during open meetings on any matter on the agenda. Those wishing to address the board are asked to complete a speaker's card and provide to the county clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. See Wagner County form. Citizens are asked to limit their comments to 3 to 5 minutes in length. Quote, citizens petition, unquote, by any citizen wishing to address the board for any matter not specifically set forth on the agenda is listed prior to, quote, commissioners' comments / general remarks, unquote. All comments, questions, concerns, or remarks should be addressed to the board and not the audience, and that comments are directed at issues and not people. Citizens wishing to make a formal presentation to the board should contact their respective district commissioner in advance to be placed on an upcoming meeting agenda.
So Commissioner,
Yes.
I asked to have this placed on here, and I appreciate it being placed as I wrote it. It is a bit lengthy, but my recommendation is that we do allow citizens wishing to be heard to comment during our issues. As issues come up, if they want to comment on, like item 11 today, they would have filled out a card this morning and said, I want to comment on item 11. When we got to that, then the citizens could comment on that at that time. And then if they wanted to make a comment, just a general comment that wasn't on the agenda, then that would be allowed, as we do it today, by allowing, putting at the bottom, right? For example, today here on item 28, any citizen desiring to be heard is right before comments, announcements, questions by Board of County Commissioners. That would remain to cover anything that wasn't on the agenda, right? So those are the two things. And then I thought it would be good to have at least some direction that you know, comments from the citizens should be directed at issues and not at people. That way we don't have people standing up accusing elected officials of doing things and talking about political issues rather than items of business for the county. Anyway, I'll open that up for discussion. That was my reason for putting it on here. I thought we needed some written policies and procedures. Oklahoma County does this. Wagner County does this. Wagner County is really good about they've got their website set up where they will allow citizens to ask questions in advance as their agenda is published. And then the county clerk's able to take that and has that available during the meeting to go by. Anyway, I thought it was something important as far as openness and transparency to support that. Turn it over to you guys.
I like points of it. I'm not too crazy about the card thing. I think we're kind of discouraging the people maybe to speak. I think today went fairly well. I mean, I don't know that I like the card thing.
And I haven't had 2 minutes to rub together since the first of the year. I have not been able to research this. And I'm kind of wondering if the scope is broad enough. I would like to study this further. I have not been able to peruse the Wagner County form, or wasn't there another county?
Yeah, the Oklahoma County. It's not on this
County.
one. I talked about it.
And so I'm like out of the water on this one and would like to come back and revisit this. I do believe it is a good idea, but I'm kind of wondering if it doesn't need some other things addressed in there as well. So I would like to study this.
I mean, my thinking, we're servants for the citizens, and if they come to our meeting, I think they ought to be able to speak without filling out a card.
Absolutely.
If you got something to tell me.
But I am looking at that meeting of January 28th as being rather inexcusable. And I would like to further address possibly actions that occurred at that particular time. So yes, sir, I would like to have a no action on this and have us come back and further address this issue. I have not had time to study this question, and I also haven't been able to do any kind of research on what past boards have done. And so I ask that this have no action, but that be placed on the agenda again, possibly for the 2nd of March, which again notoriously would have fewer items on it to be addressed.
So is it no action or table till March?
Well, it'd be a no action and put
Yeah, they're
back
two
on.
different things.
Exactly,
Okay.
they are two different things.
They are
I would
two
like to
different
have
things.
it
And
put
no
on-
action means if there is no schedule to bring it back. Somebody will have to
Okay.
call and put it on the agenda.
Then I
A
would like to
table
have
is
it.
we are scheduling it to bring it back.
I think we should table it then and bring it back on March the 2nd, which should give me time to thoroughly peruse this as to all the ramifications and how broad that scope might be.
Say, I so move, yes. Let's
Thank
move on.
you. Appreciate that. All in favor? Aye. On to number 13. Discussion and possible action on adding specific details to the open meeting agenda topics requiring board approval. Recommend that enough detail be added in order to allow a reasonable person to understand the topic being discussed without benefit of the source document of record. This additional detail should allow the approval of all agenda items without needing to examine and sign each and every source document of record during the conduct of the Commissioners' meeting. This will provide additional transparency of action and speed up board meetings. Once approved by the board, source documents of record can then have signatures affixed immediately following the board meeting. See Oklahoma and Wagoner County's Board of County Commissioners agendas. And again, I haven't had a chance to look at their agendas.
Well, I mean, personally, I thought our agendas were pretty clear. I mean, I don't have a problem with the way they're written.
I'm not having that issue either, but I do believe our commissioner is wanting it to be more transparent to the public as to specifically what those agenda items are. As for having that information ahead of us, I'm unclear as to how that would work. I'm not source documents, et cetera. So, Troy, could you elaborate?
Well,
please,
no,
on
actually, that's
this?
what I wanted to ask is Commissioner Goodman's brought this up. So I personally, as the one that prepares the agenda, would like some clarification of what we're intending with this item.
Okay, yeah, basically, it's just, for me, basic stuff, you know, as a citizen, I would like to be able to look at the agenda and decide who's getting paid, why they're getting paid, and when, and how much. Right now, I can't look at the agenda items and figure that out.
And in all honesty, I've looked at several, including Wagner, and each individual warrant or dollar amounts are not listed on any county that I know of. They're put maybe in the minute part, but not on the agenda. For instance, today we are gonna approve claims. There's probably 300 checks, not counting payroll,
Right.
that are there. So I just wanna make sure I'm understanding. You would want each of those checks listed as an agenda item, on the agenda?
Not as an item, no. I mean, there's like consent agendas and things like that, but those are all listed. Oklahoma County does a very good job of doing that. And they do list totals and in some general form give an idea of what's going on. Right now, I really do have a hard time reading our agendas and figuring out what we're doing. So I think we need more detail. I think we need to look at it.
Okay. As far as the claims, because you did point that one up, I will explain. I've looked at several counties myself. Wagner County, which you bring up, actually says the same thing. They call them calendar claims with no totals there. And here's the reason I think most counties don't have a total for the agenda. At the time that this was required to be posted, I didn't have a title. We were in the process of calculating, auditing, getting them ran and getting them done so that they were ready. And I think most counties work that close to, as far as the claims are concerned, to getting them out and ready to be in here on today.
So like here's one from Oklahoma County that I was looking at. And for example, they talk about discussion and action on metro parking contracts, right? So they list the contract number, space, what the cost is per month, and who is getting it. This is the kind of detail I'm talking. I'm not talking about having to do a whole lot of stuff, but
I'm just trying to understand.
And I'm trying to get the agenda items to where I can understand and where, you know, my 15-year-old nephew can understand as well.
Well, in all honesty, and I mean this sincerely, this agenda we're working from today,
Yeah. Here's
would you give me
another Oklahoma.
a couple of items that were not clear enough, just so I can put it to reference?
Well, I'm not sure I want to pick on you, right? That's not what I'm here to do.
Well, what do you think about our agenda?
It's always looked good to me, I mean, in terms of detail. And I'm speaking comparatively, because Payne County, I think, tries to get every item on one line. And so theirs could use a little more. I've told Troy that before, that I really think she does a good job. Not trying to load it to one line. So,
I'm not opposed to making some changes and some additional information. I just wanted to be clear on what was being requested.
I really like what Oklahoma County's done on their agendas. They're pretty clear. I can read that, figure out what they're doing before I get there. And I'm not saying ours is unclear, but as a county commissioner, once I get more experience under my belt, yes, I will be able to look at it and tell exactly what's going on, but that's not my point. My point is, if I don't have that experience as a county commissioner, can a regular, reasonable person, a citizen of the county, look at our agenda and figure out what business we're conducting? And I think we can do better in that regard.
But
That's all I'm saying.
you're not saying that we haven't hit that element.
I'm saying that I think we can do better in that area.
Perhaps we can kind of maybe work together and come up with what we're trying to do.
That's what I'd like for you two to sit down and kind of hash it out myself, and we'll put it back on the agenda.
On the agenda
to make that recommendation. I think it's so broad right now, like Troy, you don't know what you want for sure. I'd like you to sit down with it and make it clear.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to do that. So we table this until when?
2020.
2020? Is that a new show?
January 1. Can't have this meeting completely boring.
I'm with you there. With you there. Table for when?
Can we make it like the 15th?
March? Yes.
Well, and is this agenda item gonna be changed so that, do we want to actually?
And I think that might be a valid point too. If we did a no action and brought it back with a more specified, would that be a problem, Commissioner?
I wouldn't.
You know, the way, I mean, with my ability to put things on the agenda, I don't think it's a problem, as long as, you know, I'm able to drop things on the agenda. I'll do it on the 15th, and we'll come back and talk about it.
In all honesty, I'm not sure that it really has to be an agenda item to make some corrections to the way we type up the agenda, so.
All right.
No action.
So I'm gonna, and I'll put it back on the agenda for the 15th to talk about what we're decided that we can do, right?
Okay.
So we have no action. So off to item 14, consideration possible action on approving resolution to participate in the ACO Gridiron competition to encourage employees to participate in health and wellness activities.
You got one, Troy?
Yeah.
That's the resolution there, Mike. Mine, ACO was putting on that wellness program, and I had like 7 or 8 employees wanted to sign up for it. So to do that, you gotta have this resolution.
I will make that motion.
I'll second. And if y'all wanna join in, I mean, it'd be great if the whole county did it. My guys were playing basketball on Thursday night. If y'all wanna get your guys to play, we'll have a game some night. And see who can take who. You a basketball player, Marvin?
Last time I did that, I was on a donkey, and it was an FFA deal.
I've been there and done that. I just wasn't on that donkey very long.
I need a vote.
I motion.
You made the motion.
All those saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 15, consideration possible action on approving resolution to dispose of 1 tape player with speakers for the health department.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Consideration and possible action on approving resolution to dispose of 1 Oric vacuum for the health department. I would make that motion.
Second.
Aye. All those in favor? Motion carries. Item number 17, moving right along, consideration possible
Just leave
action
it down there and I'll.
on approving resolution approving designated signatories for the sheriff's MA trust
On the
account.
table now.
Got a little longer here.
It's awkward looking this way.
It is. It is
It
awesome.
seems small to me. Does it seem small to you? I mean, used to it was down there looking that way, now we're looking that way, it just seems tiny.
Yeah.
That's
It's wider. But it doesn't
And
seem.
17.
Where are we? 17. This is what Mr. Bauman wanted, I'll make the motion.
They had a couple of turnover in staff, so they've had to change the signatories for that trust account.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Commissioner Goodman, did you vote?
Aye.
Thank you.
He signed it first, though.
That's all right.
Somebody had an Ohio style resolution on that.
I did not write that one.
I know. I can tell. Number 18, a notification from the county clerk of the receipt of the 2014 mineral interest report from the state treasurer's office.
This is just, I'm supposed to notify you that I received the report, of which I'm asking for a new report to be sent. There was an error in it. So I'm gonna ask you to take no action on 18, and I will make official notification when I get a good report.
No action. Moving on to number 19. Consideration and possible action on signing certificates of election and certificate of filing for the 2015 Free Fair Board election held on February 6, 2015.
District 1 had no election. We only had one filer for that, so we have the certificate of filing and designation of being awarded the seat for Derek Avery. District 2 and District 3 did hold elections. District 2 had two candidates, Teresa Casper, who received 10 ballots, and Charles Downey, who received 1 ballot. Therefore, Teresa Casper's been certified as the winner for the position in District 2 Free Fair Board Representative. District 3 had two candidates, Lloyd Jones, who received 24 ballots, Roland Taylor, who received 31 ballots. Roland Taylor has been certified as the winner of that position as a board member for the Free Fair Election District 3. And there's their certificates.
I'll make the motion that we accept certificates of election, certificate of filing.
Second.
Call for a vote.
All those in favor,
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Item 20, consideration and possible action on approving resolution establishing the speed limit of 20 miles per hour on all interior roads within Canales Ranch Additions 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Chairman, would you correct the miles per hour on there?
25,
You said 20.
I apologize, 25 miles per hour. Reading ahead. I'll make that motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move up citizens' desire to be heard, because I'd almost bet you these people don't care anything about the rest of this agenda, but it'd be totally up to them.
I think that
Well,
would.
before we do that, can I finish this, that we're in the
Yeah,
middle of doing?
absolutely.
So I made the motion.
I need a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank
Do you have a problem with that, Marty? Well, not the vice chairman.
Let's move, number
know.
28.
I'm
Lord,
good with it.
that would be any citizen desiring to be heard.
Is this what these people want? I mean, where did this, I'm just
Oh,
asking for some background.
I thought we had to vote.
We did, but he stopped to ask a question. You might want to address this quick.
The speed
What
limit,
was the
is that
question?
your speed limit?
25?
Yes.
What about it?
Is that your resolution?
Yes.
Background, please.
This is a small addition road. It has a lot of ups and downs. This was a request by, I don't know, 6 or 8 of my citizens that somebody needs to control the speed limit. The county speed limit currently is 45 miles per hour. Unless otherwise posted.
Yeah, I guess, is there a homeowners association
No, sir. It is several additions. There's 4 additions in there. They all interconnect. They're all dirt gravel. We have people who, mostly young, who speed and tear up the roads, et cetera, et cetera. They would like to have law enforcement have the ability to slow these people down. And if they have this signage, then we feel like perhaps they will slow their speed down, because it's a danger to the citizens, it's a danger to their property. There have been incidents in there that have definitely impacted the citizens. And so this is a request from them.
I would be happy to approve a request from the citizens,
Yes, sir.
if they would submit one.
Okay, can I stop? We took full action and have a vote on that item.
Okay. Whatever.
They can recall it, I just was making
I
note.
I don't remember voting on the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, but I may have gotten it from.
All the roads here are listed. I've had this from basically verbal requests from each and every one of these. And if you wish me to document them, I would assume that I would be able to do that. But otherwise, I can definitely certify on my testimony that I have had numerous people apply to me for a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit in that area. As a matter of fact, some citizens have actually put up 25 white signs that are unenforceable because, yes, sir, there is no resolution that allows this. But if you wish, I can get that in documentation. But I do believe this is a matter of record, that I do certify on my testimony that these citizens desire a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. Having said that, what is your vote, sir?
No.
Motion carries. Oh, there we are. Number 21, consideration possible action on hiring of a company to install handicap door openers at the courthouse annex.
I was asked to put this on at the last meeting. We were supposed to be determining a company and,
Does Cynthia have anything on it?
I don't know. I just had it down in my notes.
Who was the company on putting in the?
Well, they guys had talked about calling an electrician, so I called the electrician. He came by yesterday to look at everything.
He give you a quote?
No, he wants us to order the stuff and then the actual button and the opener.
Well, we can't do no action on them if we don't have a quote, so I say no action.
Okay.
No action or table.
No action.
No action. Number 22, consideration and possible action on approving resolutions appointing receiving officers for various accounts.
I just have the one for the sheriff's office.
Unless we want to go to,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it says it's to be heard. I'll
Don't
make
matter
that.
to me. I'm sure these people got things to do besides.
I know one of our legal consultants would probably like to get back onto the road.
I'll make the motion.
I second.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
moved as citizens to be heard, and I still question on a discussion item that a citizen was not allowed to be heard. In any case, Flo, would you please comment on, I believe this would be an opportune, correct? Okay. Would you please comment on the conflict of interest as perceived between a banker being on a board wherein those funds, accounts are held by his particular bank, which he is a member of that bank's board? Please, sir.
Statute does allow a banker to serve. And the statute that you're referring to on conflict of interest actually is one that says no contract shall be entered into between any board member and a member of that board, between the board and any board member. The exception, number one in that statute, is that not to be counted among the contracts that are prohibited is any banking deposit or depository. That's not considered. You have that, and then later in that same statute, you have a notwithstanding anything else the statute has said, either an officer, employee, or director of any financial institution is not prohibited from serving on a public body, but if the public body, and that can be any kind of board, EMS, this board, whatever, if they're going to have a transaction with that particular financial institution, then that member must abstain from voting on that particular transaction. And that's the limitation that they put in the legislation. So it's not one that says just because you're a officer, director, or employee of a bank, that keeps you from serving on a board that might have a deposit account at that bank, or that might even engage in a transaction to borrow money from that bank. It's just that the limitation is the banker board member has to abstain on any vote concerning any particular transaction. And then on the other hand, just having a deposit account is not a violation of that statute. That's what the legislature is saying.
So there's not a conflict then?
There's not a conflict. That's what they're really legislating to say, is that you could read this and you would think there would be a conflict, so what we are telling you is we are making it not a conflict.
So what I hear you saying is, in general, there's not a conflict of a banking officer serving on a board. However, there are requirements for that to remain in effect and to be done according to the law.
Right. Abstaining, basically, if there's a transaction involving the board and that institution. That's the limitation.
But yet that body may have an account at that.
A deposit.
And that is possibly a portion of that would be paying his salary.
Right.
So he does make money off of those transactions, but he is not allowed to have any kind of vote on that action. What type of accountability and documentation is there if that question does come before that board? Is there accountability? Is there someone who comes back and double checks to make certain that he is adhering to the law?
Other than the auditor, state auditor and inspector that would audit those kinds of things anyway, I don't know of any other. You know, the minutes of that meeting should reflect that that member abstained from voting. So there would be.
So would that be a bank auditor, do you think, that would do that, or would that be the state auditor?
State auditor, if it's public, you know, that, well, the state auditor has the jurisdiction to audit that particular entity, which they do in the case of an EMS district.
They would be able to audit the minutes of the bank.
And,
To
or not
make
the
certain.
bank, but the public body. If
The
it's
public body.
engaging, yeah, if it's engaging in a transaction with that financial institution.
So
They can
he's
check
on
that.
his honor then, that when he's at that bank, to adhere to the law.
Right, yeah. But as a member of the board is what we're talking about.
Correct.
He is also on his honor to abstain from voting on that transaction. So, in other words, if the vote comes up.
Are you talking about on the EMS board?
On the EMS board, right.
But not necessarily at the bank.
Right. The bank,
That's a
would not be
different
subject
kettle
to
of
this
fish.
law.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify
Yeah,
that.
it's-
I wasn't really certain.
Yeah, the law is only gonna apply to the public body. And
I
the
see.
question of, is this a contract that they cannot engage in? That's what
So
that is.
right now, they have 2 members on that board, they're needing a third. And so they would have to table any action until they have another member, because one person cannot second the motion.
Right. Well, you're
So,
talking about only.
right now, at this particular moment, they cannot take any action on any kind of deposits going to. that
Well, and
particular
remember,
bank.
deposits as such are not defined, or defined out of the statute as being a contract that's illegal anyway.
see.
So just having the deposit account is not really considered a transaction.
I see.
The transaction would be, are we gonna borrow money, or are we gonna
Okay.
do something beyond just having a deposit account?
So I can't move on that.
Yeah.
I see.
Well, I've got one question for you. A month or so ago, I sent you an email about who oversees the EMS districts.
An EMS district is a constitutional entity, so it's kind of a breed of its own. Even the legislature has to be careful, because they pass some laws only to find out that the laws are unconstitutional, they didn't have authority to pass them. So, it's an entity. What that means, anytime we say it's a constitutional entity, the voters of the state created the entity by going to the polls. You'll sometimes hear that called a 522 board. You may have heard that terminology. That's because the state question was 522. And so we sometimes hear it called that, and everybody says, what's that? You know, they start looking for a section 522, you're not going to find it. It's the state question that created that. It's actually codified in Article 10 and Section 9C of the Oklahoma Constitution. And it lays out everything about EMS districts. There's a little section that will say, and the legislature can legislate in this area, and they've adopted a budget act for EMS districts that sets forth a budget procedure. And most of those provisions, there hasn't been an issue with their constitutionality. But other than that, where we go for direction on what can be done, it's the Constitution provision itself and the opinions of the Attorney General that have interpreted those provisions, and of course the opinions of the courts if there's any court case interpreting those provisions. And so the opinions you'll see from the Attorney General are going to say, that's not a county entity, that's not a county department, you know, those aren't county employees, and so they are a kind of a class of their own. The Board of County Commissioners appoints the members of the Board of Trustees. There's to be 5 of them. And of course, that's the same legislation where when we talk about the school district being the boundary, that's because that's what the constitutional provision is. If you create a district, an EMS district, it follows the boundaries of your school districts as you do that. So all that governing law comes from the constitutional provision, with the exception of some budget matters that the Budget Act covers.
One follow-up question here. Again, I'm kind of new to being around politicians. In a democratically elected republic, which we serve in, how can a board that's appointed by elected officials not be responsible to those elected officials for the performance of their duties? I'm having a little bit of a conflict in my mind about that piece, because at some point in the pyramid, all right, going up, if it's not the county board of commissioners that would have some oversight, not to tell the board how to conduct their business, because I understand that would be illegal, but to bring them forward to answer questions on audits, because the auditor, the state auditor, only produces findings and recommendations. They have no authority to enforce. Right? They have no enforcement authority. So I'm kind of getting back to where's the people's enforcement? The people that elect officials. What elected officials responsible for that enforcement piece? I know there's a lot of controversy on this. I've done a little reading too. But if you'd comment on that, I'd really appreciate your input on that.
And I would say the only authority would be if an EMS board member is not doing their job, your appointment authority is you wouldn't appoint that person.
Okay,
I
great.
don't know if within that you've got the power to remove, the legislation or the constitutional piece would have to say that, if you had the power to remove a board member that you appointed, but that would certainly give you.
But I certainly agree with that. I haven't seen anything on removal either. I was just, but, you know, the responsibility to the citizens is my point and what I'm trying to figure out here on these board appointments.
Yeah, and it would be, I would think, the greatest amount of authority is you're picking the members that are gonna run that district. So you do have that authority, but then as far as once that's done, overseeing it, you don't have until the next time you appoint somebody. That's where it's a little bit different. Again, the voters created the thing. And that's why you're not seeing what you usually see when you see other boards where there would be more kind of a supervisory element, is because you've got the voters themselves that said, we want to create emergency medical service districts, and here's how they're going to be created, here's how the members are going to be appointed, here's how they can borrow money. It's all laid out in that one section.
So at the end of the day, our only control over whether or not those boards are doing their job is through our appointment process.
That's really it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes. You've answered my question.
We had the same issue with the former Logan County Hospital.
Yeah.
Any other citizens?
Yeah.
Brett, did you have a big spill for us or anything?
Done, already filled it out, I think, haven't you?
Unless you guys have something afterwards.
I appreciate what y'all's trying to get pulled off down there.
Yes,
It works
we
for
do.
you.
So, shall we go back to item 23 then?
Yes, sir.
All right. Consideration and possible action on approving resolutions appointing requisitioning officers for various accounts.
I only have one for Woodcrest Fire Department.
Make the motion. Yeah, absolutely. Angela, I think her.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 24, consideration and possible action approving the following temporary road crossing permit for Titan Poly Services. Cross parallel Sooner, .01 miles west of County Road 70 and Sooner, 100 feet north of the northwest central of 3218 north to west.
Let me see them, Mike.
That would be,
You got them?
I don't,
No,
I don't, oh, I do. That'd be your road, would it not? That's above the Cimarron, north of the Cimarron.
Look at that district map, Mike, they're all my roads almost.
I have a few
Something
crossings.
to change.
Commissioner, will you, after the meeting, remind me of an issue with an old line that's laying up there that was called about yesterday?
Oh, boy, that's a nightmare.
Another one, then? Sure. It's your road, bro.
Yes, sir.
You want to let them across it?
Now, we also have item
Well,
25. in that
unfortunately, I
list.
am, but
Yeah, they were all there.
Yeah, you also have item 25.
Is it firm?
so, temporary.
Just leave pump more water?
Yeah. All right, well, I'll move.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Number 25, consideration of possible action on approving the following permanent road crossing permits for Oklahoma Natural Gas and Stevens Productions. The Oklahoma Gas is a 4-inch gas line parallel to Coltrane, 5.7 miles south of State Highway 77 and State Highway 33, 28 feet south of the northwest central, is that?
Northwest corner.
Northwest corner of section 815 north to west. Also Stevens Production Company, an 8.625-inch water line that crosses County Road 63.001 east of County Road 63 and Rockwell 22 feet east of the northwest corner of 2819 north or west, as well as crosses County Road 63.51 miles west of County Road 63 and Rockwell, 2,674 feet east of the northeast corner of 2819 north or west. At .001, we have, is there anything in our permits about how close to a corner they can be? That certainly doesn't, nothing in there, huh?
Oklahoma natural gas. They're gonna give us free natural gas from here.
That's just saying that, I mean, it's coming off from that intersection and then it's east of the northeast corner. It's not that it's in the middle of that corner. That's just the legal description.
Mike, the only thing that you really need to do is make sure that they don't diagonally across the intersection.
Probably the fastest way.
Will there be a motion for the permanence?
I so move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Acclamation. Unanimously. Number 26, consideration and possible action on the consent agenda. I'm not gonna read all of that.
As payroll, the other two did these, I brought them for you, Commissioner Goodman, and then here's the summary that you all signed for payroll.
Well, are they keeping you busy over there?
Pretty much, yeah. I gotta get back that way, so. Finish out today.
Just barely met the new DA.
Yeah.
The Community Sentencing
Yeah,
Committee.
I'm trying to get her to come over. And says,
Well, she was here for 30 seconds yesterday.
Did she? Did she sign?
Yeah,
Did you get it signed?
yes, well, actually, and it was mine, I got one copy as an original and forgot to get a second signature, but we didn't put it on the agenda because I hadn't heard from her. That is actually a project agreement for Commissioner Goodman that will go on for the 27th.
Which one?
The project agreement that the DA needed to sign
Form and legality.
as to form and legality, that will go on
Oh.
for the 27th.
Okay.
Thank you, Lowell.
Sure, see you all later.
Lowell,
Thanks,
Thanks, Lo.
Thank you, bud.
Bye.
He sure keeps a lot of knowledge up there in that head.
I mean, to shout.
And quotes. I was gonna ask him how he done it. Well, I better not.
Maybe.
I don't understand it anyway.
This is a transfer for you. You need to sign here as the transferring as the officer, and then the board action is
Gotcha.
here.
Here, here.
Checks.
One of these transfer documents, does everyone just got stacked of their own type, because they're all different?
I think that's kind of what happened. I did a form up for everyone that was duplexed, and I think some have lost along the way. I can try to send out and get that done.
I'm not complaining, I'm just asking.
I didn't sign this one.
Yeah.
For
There's
some
not
reason, the
enough
form
lines
she
for
used,
some
the
reason.
line wasn't on there.
That's right.